Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kim Stein. I am a scientist at the Gatorade Sports Science Institute, and a very fun project I got to work on this past year is the work that we at GSSI get to do with the new NBA G League and the athletic trainers in that league. So starting this past season, the former NBA Development League entered a partnership with Gatorade, hence the name the G League. But the cool thing is this is not just a naming partnership. They came to us and said, okay, you have this great group of athletic trainers to work with. You have this amazing group of athletes. Let's form a partnership where you get to go out and you provide services and information and learnings to these athletes, and then we get to learn back from them, whether it's insights or doing research, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a long road where we can go. We're just scratching the surface on this. But it's a really great initiative, both for the league and for us in the Sports Science Institute. So today with me, I have two of the G League athletic trainers who are involved in some of these activations from last year. So first we have Mark Mahoney. He's the head athletic trainer for the Lakeland Magic, the NBA G League affiliate of the Orlando Magic. Mark previously was with the G League's Erie Bayhawks and the Springfield Armor. I get that right? Okay. And Shanice Johnson is the head athletic trainer for the NBA G League Long Island Nets. And before joining the Nets organization, she worked for Madison Square Garden and served as the assistant athletic trainer for the Westchester Knicks. So thank you very much for joining us today. As a reminder, we're also streaming this on Facebook Live. So if you want to show it to people later, it'll be there, archived after you hear all the awesome things that they have to tell you. So thanks again for joining us. I'm going to make you guys do all the hard work and ask a few questions. So both of you have worked primarily within the G League in your careers. Tell us what your favorite part is working with this level of athlete. What draws you to the G League and kind of keeps you working in this environment?
For me, I'll go.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
For me, this has been just a great opportunity to work with professional athletes. It's a development league, so you get the opportunity to see these guys start off. Some are free agents, or some have played in the NBA, so that's exciting. You go, you work with NBA athletes formally, and you get to see them develop, the ones who may have gone undrafted. See them grow and develop with coaches, strength, conditioning wise or skill wise, and get the opportunity for a call up to work in or play in the NBA, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my goal is to be in the NBA, and these players, they want to be in the NBA as well. So it's just amazing to see their journey go through, to see a guy like Wayne Cook this year, hoisting the championship trophy. And seeing him we played against him earlier that year. And so to see these guys just living, working, going towards their dreams and helping them on that path, it's amazing.
Great. So you guys have been in the league for several years now, and we've had just our first season now with Gatorade kind of coming in and doing more. Tell us what's changed for you from previous seasons in the league.
I'll let Mark answer that. Mark is a little bit more experienced.
So I just did finished my 7th year in the D League, now G League. The partnership, my first few years in the league, you barely knew who the other athletic trainers were. With the G League, we now do a Gatorade Summit before the year, so we get to know the other athletic trainers. The products that they provided when I first came into the league, we barely had, we just had Gatorade. There was no protein, there was nothing else. If you traveled, you didn't travel with any Gatorade products. You had to go to the store and pick it up. Whereas now we're able to provide Gatorade for the visiting teams. We're able to get my guys extra protein, the bars, the chews. Anything Gatorade has, they've opened it up for us to have the opportunity to have.
Yeah. So this year, we kind of created a union amongst all the G League athletic trainers, where we created the Minor League Athletic Trainers Association, similar to the NBA TA, which is the NBA Trainers Association. And we came together and we said, hey, we're a little bit shorter staff. We don't have all the, massage therapists. We don't have strength conditioning coaches or equipment managers who per se train or work with us on the roads. So a lot of times that falls on us, and we have to take on a lot of responsibility. So we came together and we said, how can we make each other's lives better, but also make the players' lives even better, and make sure that we are able to supply and have all the equipment and needs that they need on the road, especially as rough. So we came together and said, let's start providing some of these like amenities like to each other while we're traveling. So, our players may have recovery or have the chew bars. So that was something that was great, for this season, but also having the summit for all the athletic trainers in the beginning really, really helped out, because now I knew who this new athletic trainer was. Sometimes there's a lot of turnover in the NBA G League as far as head athletic trainers go. So it was really nice to have that summit to say, I know who you are at Lakeland Magic, or I know who you are at the Bayhawks. Like, it just really helps out so that we can all come together and make sure that we are able to provide for our athletes.
Well, and even with that summit, it gave us an opportunity to go through the protocols that you don't know.
Yes.
Coming out of college, you don't necessarily know how to do workman's comp. You don't know all these certain things. And my first year in the league, it was a conference call in the middle of physical. So I'm dealing with doctors and stress echoes, and I'm trying to do this call that I didn't pay attention to at all. Whereas now we have that opportunity to spend a weekend before the season starts. So we come in and we're already ahead of the program instead of coming in behind.
Not only that, though, this year, too, we had the opportunity to really engage with GSSI in that summit. So we were able to give feedback and also give suggestions and ideas, which I think really benefited this season as well. And then we continue to do that. GSSI has done such a great job with just keeping open communication with us and, giving their suggestions and always asking, how can we make this better? How can we make this league? How can we provide for these athletes, And that open discussion for us has been tremendous for the players. They have been open. They've been receptive. They have learned through this process as well. And I think that's really important to have at the end of the day, like with the guys, as far as understanding their bodies and what it is needed to refuel.
So we didn't even plan this, but thank you, because that was an excellent segue to my next question. We did several things from the Sports Science Institute this year. We provided a dietitian resources to teams that were interested in it, and we provided some physiology testing for most teams. That was sweat testing this year. So you touched on some of the interactions with GSI in the preseason, and it's important for us to hear from the athletic trainers and make sure that we never want to give you data or give you results that you can't really use and aren't meaningful to you. So can you talk more about how during the season you guys interacted with our scientists and how you're able to use some of that information?
Yeah, sure. So GSSI, sent out a couple of the scientists that would come to our practice or either games. This season, athletic trainers had the option through the organization to choose if they wanted to do sweat testing either during the practice. It had to be high intensity because we really want to get a good sweat rate result. Or it could be during a game. So it was kind of various on teams. My team, we opt into a practice. So we did that, and they were very accommodating. They worked around our schedule. It's a very fluid process, even though our schedules are not always the most convenient because we travel, or our practice, especially going into mid-season, are not as high intensity because we have games that may be every other day or back-to-back. So GSSI made sure to work with our schedules and coaches to make sure that it happened. So that was very, very convenient.
Oh yeah, no, that was easy. And then we had the nutritionist that come visit us twice a month, just educating my guys. Most of my guys, again, they're straight out of college. They don't really know shopping. They're used to having a cafeteria. So our nutritionist was able to take the guys to the store, show them how to shop, what to buy, and even how to cook it. I know my guys benefited from it greatly, just being able to do that.
Yeah, I think that was the additional benefit from the program that was implemented, that these guys are not only learning about themselves, but it's kind of an overall life experience where they're learning what to shop for, what to cook for. So it's like a more overall wellness that is being instilled, which is really huge because after basketball, they know where to shop, what to look for, and what to fuel their bodies. So I think that's really, really beneficial.
Great. So when we come in and we we do a sweat test and we give you some information, right? Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about how you use that information? You guys are busy, right? So the last
Yeah.
thing you need is more information dumped on you, right?
Yeah.
So talk about how you were able to kind of use some of what you learned from the sweat testing, or how you address hydration with your athletes, both at home and during your extensive travel schedule.
Well, for me, it started educating the coaches. My coach would go for an hour without hardly having a water break, or he'd be like, you get 2 minutes to drink. And so I was able to show him the results, saying, hey, coach, look, we have every single guy was losing this amount of fluids, and we're not getting it back. We need to increase our water breaks. We need more time. And then I had a few players who were heavy sweaters, and I could, without the sweat test, I can go up to a guy and be like, you sweat a lot, you need a drink. But with the sweat testing, I was able to be like, look, this is how much sodium, this is the carbs you're losing. We need to start increasing what you're taking before practice, during practice, and even after.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think also that was really beneficial was the fact that I was able to also take some of that information because the GSSI was able to create specific profiles for the individuals. So some of my guys like maybe had started out with low carbohydrates, and then we had other guys who just really lost a lot of sodium, and so we could tailor our Gatorade order to say, you know what, you need to have a chew before, maybe include a Gatorade before this high intensity game or practice, especially after back-to-backs. So that's how we would kind of tailor it to that individual. And again, it made it a lot easier because we actually got an increased allotment from Gatorade, so that was beneficial. So that, again, on the road, the visiting team or home team would be able to provide the additional Gatorade supplements. So fuel bars were huge for my group, the recovery bars and the drinks. Some people don't like fluids. Some people prefer the bars to the eat. So that having those options were huge for my team. They love those options, and the flavors are just amazing. That you guys are nailing it, by the way. Like, on the flavors, they're loving it. So that's one thing I would say. Like, let's continue to do and keep that up. But that was more to what we utilize. I think flow that's coming out now and organic, some of that stuff is what our guys, a lot of people are taking the dietary, route of becoming vegan. So this organic route and all of those are like really huge, and you guys are already on it. So.
I'm not on it. I'm the scientist, but we do try and help inform those product choices, right? And I think it's a good example of our partnership with the brand, because we can't be giving you all this data and results and nutrition advice, and then we don't have the products to meet those needs. So that's an important part of our innovation step, and we learn from you guys as well and take that information back. Here's what a basketball player looks like. These are the things they're looking for. There are vegan athletes. There are people who are looking for things that aren't in our portfolio. Where do we go to innovate? So the information back to us is equally important. And then I become the filter to the brand. So we're all connected.
Yeah, most definitely.
Around like that. Good. What's the biggest challenge for you working in the G League?
The biggest challenge right now, especially with all the hydration and everything, is what the players are doing outside of practice, because we can't sit there and I'm not going to follow around at home and give them water and Gatorade. And so I guess the challenge right now is just to continue to educate them, to get them to understand that they need to be drinking X amount of water after practice, drinking it in the mornings when they wake up, because I have several guys that just want to wake up, go straight to practice. They don't eat anything, they don't drink anything. And it's kind of like, hey, no, you need to take care of your bodies. I did get pretty excited. I had a drug test at the end of the year, and every single one of my players that are drug tested, their specific gravity was almost too low. And I was like, well, the drug tester was a little upset, but I was like, no, that's great. That means they're drinking, they're hydrated for this game.
Yeah. I think the most difficult challenge, or the biggest challenge, is travel. We tend to, sometimes we have long travel days or a back-to-back game, which can be a little bit challenging for us, where we're saying, okay, after the game, we're leaving late, we go back to the hotel, and then we have to wake up for 4 o'clock to make a 6 o'clock, flight. I think that time frame where, our guys are going to be oxygen deprived for a period of time, depending how long the travel is after playing a back-to-back game, or playing a game and then the next day they have to play another game. That is a little challenge as far as getting hydration. So I think the supplementation where they don't have to feel so full and boggy, but able to get those electrolytes and get those carbohydrate replenishment through the Gatorade bars or the fuel bars or electrolytes, and we can provide those things. I think that's where it kind of aids to that. But that's probably, to me, I've seen the biggest challenges with our travel.
Okay. Thanks. This has gone really fast, and I want to make sure that we have time for you all to ask questions. Anyone have a question for Mark or Shanice? Someone? Okay, I'll ask you one last question then. Tell us about your road to getting to the G League. How did you land in the G League? What was your career path?
So I've gone to all small schools, Division II school in Kansas, Emporia State, then I did grad school at the University of South Dakota. They were transitioning Division I. From there I went on and did an internship with the Chiefs, and that led me to a clinic in Kansas City. So I was working with a physical therapist, doing outreach. I was driving from the north end of Kansas City, south end of Kansas City. I was not very happy doing it. I was seeing these athletes like once a week maybe, and you can't do much in that time frame. And then I got a call after a high school football game, just randomly, and it's my predecessor at the University of South Dakota, and he said, "Mark, send your resume to this guy for the Springfield Armor in the D League." I didn't know what Springfield it was. There's one in every state, and I was like, just looked at him and said, "All right, I'm doing it. I want to work basketball." And so I started it. Yeah, it's been 7 years now. I've loved it every year. So
That's great.
It's been a fun journey.
Yeah. So I did my undergrad at Ohio University. I did a couple of internships in between through IMG, NCCU. Yeah, those are my internships in between. And then I completed my master's at Indiana State. And then after that, I got an opportunity to get an internship with the WNBA, New York Liberty. And I was just interning, and then soon after that, the New York Knicks created their NBA G League team, the Westchester Knicks, that I became assistant athletic trainer to. So I was doing year-round basketball, no off-season. New York Liberty, they are in WNBA. Their season is during the summer predominantly, and then NBA, you guys know, tend to fall through the winter. So that was kind of how I started into the G League, and then afterwards, being right in New York, Brooklyn Nets created their NBA G League, and that's how I kind of got segued over there to become part of there.
Now, you mentioned no off season, and we were just talking before this about, I said, "Hey, how's your off season?" Thinking, "Oh, you get a little downtime, right?" That was not the answer from each one of you. So give them an idea of when you're not in the G League season, what the off season is like at this level.
So it varies from every NBA G League team. There's some G League teams that are not parented by the NBA. But for the most part, most of NBA G League teams are now partnering up. I think the help with Gatorade has been very influential on that. In the off season, mostly I am helping out with Brooklyn Nets, so I go back to my parent team. We help with draft workouts. Sometimes they're free agent workouts, and then there's also Summer League that are a lot of times predestined of your future NBA G League players, or they are your draft picks, where you guys have just witnessed last week from the NBA draft. So you get a little showcase of that, but it varies from team to team. But that's my off season currently.
And mine's the same as yours. Yeah, we went through some changes in Orlando, and so there's just a couple of us holding down the fort there for a little while. So we had the draft workouts. We had a few of the Orlando Magic players still in town working out, so we'd work with them with anything they need. We're getting ready for Summer League that we leave for on Monday for Vegas for the next 2 weeks or whatever.
Next week.
Yeah, so
next week.
It's fun,
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's busy.
Yes, please.
Okay, so as a female athletic trainer working predominantly in like a male-dominant sport, when you're trying to tell your athletes, hydrate, eat this, that, and stuff from Gatorade that you learned through that, like how's that process been? Like, did you have any combative athletes don't tell me what to eat or do because I'm an athlete, I know what I'm doing?
Let me repeat that so that everyone can hear it. So she's asking, as a female athletic trainer trying to give this advice to the athletes, hydration advice, nutrition advice, et cetera, do you get any pushback from them, or are they receptive?
No. So these guys at this level, they are professionals. So they are in tune with their bodies, and they also respect that we are experts. So when we give them that information, we're giving it from, a genuine expert, place and an opinion, to say, hey, and it's also facts behind that, right? We're not just saying you should just do this because you should. We're actually providing that information. We actually have all the, our Gatorade scientists who are providing these amazing profiles to break down their sweat rates, to show what their carbohydrates are, to show how much sodium is lost. So we have that backing, but then we also have our education as well to say, you're a bigger guy, you're going to sweat more than, the typical average Joe. You're working out, your job is to be competitive. So when you're giving that type of information, they're really receptive because they want to perform to their best ability. So do I get pushback? No. Do they play around? Yes. But they hear the information and they're very receptive.
Yes. Oh, we got a microphone for you.
We got a mic.
Hey.
So looking back at both of your careers, and let's say, what would you tell your younger self, in regards to your path? Would you change anything in the path that you've taken? Whether obviously you being in the, going through your internships and, not taking the traditional path, however that looks like. So would you tell yourself anything differently or change anything in your path coming up to where you are right now?
I would probably have my younger self focus more on manual therapy when I was younger. I came from a modality-based program. The higher up I've gotten, the more I realize you've got to put your hands on the athletes more and more. And so I definitely wish I would have done more with my hands earlier on. But as for my path, no, it's just amazing how things work out. It's not how I had it planned, it just kind of, everything seemed to work out, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Yeah. I don't regret anything that happened. My path was, a little kooky in between schools before going to finishing grad school. But it all led to pretty much me getting to the WNBA, to leading into the NBA, G League. So I think that, whatever experience you go through, you learn from it, you capitalize always. I don't think there's ever a sense, not to be cliche, but you got to believe in yourself and, just stick with it. If you believe that that's where you want to go, stay with it, stay, go to different conferences, stay in communication with practitioners, ask for advice, ask these questions, what was your experience, what was your route, to people who are in this position. I mean, I still have these conversations to NBA athletic trainers. I'm always inquiring, how did you handle this? Have you ever experienced a situation where it was difficult? How did you react? How did you, accomplish that? Those questions are crucial in just learning. You got to always be open to learning, and don't ever fall back from a little obstacle. So,
excellent. Are there any more questions? All right, well, with that was excellent advice to end on, and we are at time, so that's perfect. Thank you for the questions. And join me in thanking Shanice and Mark for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.